I've never been much of a PvP gamer. Growing up, my games of choice were literally anything else, and that's really because PvP games weren't that common until I got into, honestly, high school. See, a lot of people forget that online PvP games weren't really a thing until the late 2000s with the release of the Xbox 360 and the PS3, as those consoles had online connectability easily accessible. Sure, there were PvP games, but it was mostly all localized, and if you did play online, then you had to have a PC, which wasn't really accessible for a long time because PCs were always very expensive. And when you had no friends like me, you stuck to the adventure games, the platformers, the puzzle games, and more. I grew up on things like the PlayStation Trio, Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Smash Bros., and more. Again, it's not that multiplayer PvP games didn't exist, it's that they weren't as widespread and common, and it wasn't until the release of like Halo 3 2 years after the Xbox 360 came out, and when I was about 14 or so, that the idea of playing online shooters became a common thought, and from there, the evolution grew incredibly fast. By the time I was around 16, it was all too common to hear people talking about coming home from school and everyone connecting to Xbox Live to shoot each other in the face for fun, and being from a poor family, I didn't get those chances. So by the time I was able to play those games and everyone had moved on, and even then, I always appreciated the campaigns of those games more than the PvP. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't my cup of tea. Until 2012, my only real PvP gaming experience had been Rumble Fighter, of which I was in the top 3 in NA during its beta. After finally acquiring an Xbox 360 in 2012 by buying my little cousin's older system, I would then discover the vast world of online shooters, and I still wasn't convinced. Yeah, they were all fun and I enjoyed playing with my friends and my other cousin, but really I just didn't care that much. I was much more into things like Minecraft and the campaign for Gears of War, Prototype, and more. I still loved single-player story-driven games more, and I would say even to this day I prefer single-player story-driven games to play. So life went on, and in mid-2017 I would receive a gift that would change the course of how I viewed online PvP games forever. My then girlfriend and I were celebrating our 1-year anniversary. She got me a PS4 with the Skyrim Special Edition and the Crash Insane Trilogy, and I got her a stupid little engagement ring. Obviously, I need to step my gift-giving game up. Anyway, the next day, my best friend at the time was addicted to playing Overwatch, so he brought it for me and I was hooked. Now, I have a video on Overwatch in the works, but until then, just know that I loved Overwatch. I loved the heroes, the strategies, the synergies, and more. I delved in deep, learning any and everything I could about the game until eventually I became a personal coach for people trying to rank up. I had dreams of being in the Overwatch League as a professional coach. That never happened, but from there I would go on to play games like Apex Legends, and eventually, as many of you know, Dead by Daylight. My love of PvP games grew, but there was always something missing. Overwatch had the strategy and mechanics, but was far too snowbally and often felt hard to come back from. Apex was incredibly mechanics intensive, but the RNG made the strategy near impossible, and while it was fun, it was also incredibly infuriating. Dead by Daylight had all the strategy, but no mechanics, and I was beginning to think I'd never find a game that held the perfect gameplay loop for me. But then I discovered Deadlock, the game we will be talking about today. Now, before we get into what is essentially going to be an entire video gushing about this game, I want to address my original video on it. I posted a quick reviews that was my first impression, essentially, and in it I said Deadlock was only fun during the shooty bits and that I probably was struggling because I had never played a MOBA before. Whereupon many people went to the comments section to helpfully inform me that I had never played a MOBA before and that's why I sucked during the background footage. Thank you, helpful commenters. Your infinite wisdom never fails to assist in solving the great mysteries of life. In any case, my opinion has vastly changed since that video. Hi, my name is Kaiser, and on this channel I do video game discussions, reviews, news, and more. If you want to be a part of that, then please make sure you go down and hit that subscribe button down below, because I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we only have 3 months left. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's jump right into Deadlock. Like most people, when I first came to Deadlock, I had confused it for a hero shooter with MOBA elements, as it turns out that Deadlock is actually a MOBA. That's just played from the third-person shooter perspective. It doesn't have hero shooter elements because the basis of MOBAs is each character has special abilities that affect the game and a unique basic attack for dealing base damage while your ability's on cooldown. See, my previous experiments with MOBAs was 3 hours of League, in which the very first ever match I was playing against the bots to learn the game, and when we started losing, one of my teammates told me to game over myself because we were losing against bots. I put the game down after that gaming session and never picked it up again. I've never really been a fan of the top-down, click-to-move perspective anyway, and so touching other MOBAs didn't seem like it'd be my thing. I had heard of games like Smite as well, but I never picked it up because no one ever gave me a reason to, if I'm being honest. Maybe I'll give it another go after this. In any case, the third-person shooter perspective of the game loans a uniqueness in gameplay most MOBAs don't have. On top of cooldown management, positioning, and more, you now have a full 3D plane to work with, as well as a requirement of decent mechanical skill. Each game still has the MOBA phases, laning phase, wandering phase, and late game. You still approach it the way you would any other MOBAs, it's just now you have to be like awake and alert when playing. A lot of this game is about taking the most advantageous angles using intricate movement systems to either aggress or retreat. As the match goes on, your character levels up through the collection of souls which you get from killing minions, guardians, walkers, neutral monsters, and of course other players. The souls you earn double as not only not only as experience, but also as currency, so you can buy items to augment your character and build your perfect version of them, as well as counter the opponent's playstyles and heroes. When queuing into a match of Deadlock, you start by selecting at least 3 heroes you want to play, turning the ones you really want to play purple, the ones you kinda want to play yellow, and then if you want to fill the gap of 3, you can normal click for a please don't put me on this hero valve, but I'll play it if I have to. You can select more than 3, of course, just raw dogging the entire cast, and I actually recommend that until you find a handful of heroes you enjoy. My current ones are Bebop, Hayes, Wraith, and McGinnis. Each hero, like I said earlier, has a unique gun with unique abilities and even unique playstyles. Some characters have guns that suck but make up for it with their abilities, while others have abilities that merely enhance the gameplay. The entire game is about having a fundamental understanding of your hero and how they synergize with the items available to you in the shop. Speaking of, let's discuss the items briefly. Everyone has 4 slots for each item type: weapon for gun-related buffs, vitality for health-related buffs, and spirit for ability-related buffs. There are also 4 flex slots that unlock at 4 different objective completions for the entire team: when all the guardians are destroyed, when 2 walkers are killed, when all walkers are killed, and when 1 enemy shrine has been taken out. Interestingly enough, however, the categories are also not rigid. Many items in each category will buff other categories, with weapon items giving spirit or additional health, vitality giving weapon damage and spirit power, and spirit items given weapon damage and additional health. It's not all raw number buffs, however. A lot of items give bonus abilities, like allowing your I cannot get this line for the fucking sake of me. It's not all raw number buffs, however. A lot of items give bonus abilities, like allowing your bullets to bounce between targets, poisoning the opponents, giving special shields against certain types of damage, slowing the opponent's movements and rate of fires, decreasing health gains, and so on and so forth. There's a lot to learn, and that's part of the fun. I love spending time reading each item individually, and then looking at whatever hero I'm trying to improve and deciding if it will fit them or not. Thankfully, you don't have to do this mid-match, as the sandbox mode allows you to sit in it forever and test and read things to your heart's content, and even better, you don't have to memorize all the items either, as you are allowed to make custom builds and place those items into it so that they are there for when you want to play a real game. And outside of that, if you don't want to make your own builds, you can rely on community builds that people have helpfully put together so that you can actively try out a character you've never played before while relying on the knowledge of someone who has played them. I just love all of this so much. Outside of all of these knowledge checks is the fantastic movement system: slide jumps, dashes, wall jumps, and more. This is a movement system that rivals Apex, and you'll need it as well, as the map is very tall, with many vantage points that you can take to hinder the enemies, as well as traverse between lanes and even get cheeky escapes. There's several veils on the map that are one-way windows, allowing you to sneak through and hide around corners. But what makes this game better than any other PvP game I've ever played is the culmination of these things combined with one major fact: hope is almost never lost. Even if your mechanics aren't up to snuff, you can still assist your team in other ways by farming souls and bolstering your troops to help aid in the fight. They might seem like cannon fodder, but a 20k soul lead on the opposition can lead to lanes kind of handling themselves at times. If the lead is large enough, your troops will be so strong that they deal massive amounts of damage and will need to be dealt with if the enemy hopes to break through your defenses. They are basically mini instances of damage that can sway a fight in your favor, and if they are strong enough. If you're losing, significantly backing off and farming camps and running the urn can help you to catch up. I've seen games where we were one person down and had all our towers lost and our patron weakened that we came back from by turning one team fight around and then farming ourselves into a soul lead. Souls are more important than mechanics, and it doesn't take great mechanical skill to hit stationary targets. If you find yourself struggling in team fights, you can farm for your team, bolster your movement speed to run the urn better, and help in other ways. It's important to learn your strengths and weaknesses and also find the characters that work best for you. The game isn't over till it's over, and when your patron is finally dead. Until then, there is always a chance, a good chance even, that you can come back from the loss. Teams who hard push every fight will most of the time lose, and they will fall behind in souls, and teams who communicate well can and do come out on top. This game has everything I've ever wanted: mechanical skill, strategy, comeback potential, individual impact that isn't just kill more enemies, and so much more. Every time I die or lose a game, it's an adventure to see what I could have done better, because even if my team is falling behind, I know there's something I can do to stop it or even help them, and I love that the combination of large individual impact combined with the team play mattering. And this is just a brush on the surface of the gameplay. There is so much more that I can get into, but for now, I'll just leave you with what I've said in this section and move on. Deadlock is presented in a noir-style 1920s New York aesthetic. The soundtrack and the voice acting lends itself to this game. Dude, why can I not talk today? Deadlock is presented in a noir-style 1920s New York aesthetic, and the soundtrack and voice acting lends itself to this, and for a game in the pre-alpha phase, it looks f***ing phenomenal. There are some things here and there that need cleaning up, some misting textures and Yamato's cone heads from outer space looking, but outside of those minor things, the game is beautiful, well animated, and looks and feels amazing. There's a simpleness to the design that makes everything more detailed, if that makes sense. You really get a feel for the setting and the world based solely off the visual aspects. Buildings are kind of muted with colors you need to pay attention to, like lane colors, hero outfits, troopers popping much more effectively. It creates a contrast that's easy to follow and draws the eyes to the important things. However, if you want to stop and admire the details, you'll find tons of references to other Valve games as well as hidden lore bits, basically speaking to a deeper world than what we see on the surface. The map is meticulously crafted, not only to do well in gameplay, but also to provide a beautiful environment to just exist in. I mentioned the soundtrack, but really the sounds overall are very crisp and well put together, feeding information needed while enhancing the overall experience. Each sound effect adds a weight to the gameplay, and each different one is easy to learn what it means: denying souls, confirming souls abilities, mid-boss spawn, mid-boss 60% health, etc, etc. I also do want to make it a point to mention, as this is something that I didn't write in the script but I do want to bring up, as a hard of hearing person, it is nice to have so many global effects that don't directly hurt me, and so many visual confirmations on top of audio confirmations that allow me to understand exactly what's going on. This shows a lot of foresight and a lot of understanding that not every single one of your players is going to have perfect hearing, and as somebody who has struggled with this in many of the games that I've played, Dead by Daylight, I'm really happy with the developers and their decisions to help people who can't hear that well. The voice acting is perfect. Every hero sounds and feels unique, and their personalities shine through in their voice work. The patrons each feel like an overarching presence on the match, and the fact that they both have different voices, depending on which one you're working for, also prevents the matches from feeling stagnant. That's something I also kind of like. It's never a straightforward red versus blue style, although in-game blue is good while red is bad. You can end up being on either the red team or the blue team as either the Amber Hand and the Sapphire Flame. Which one you are is which patron is the announcer for your match. Overall, the presentation shows the same kind of love and care that the gameplay has, and it's just all so damn good! This is the part where all the anti-woke weirdos leave their annoying comments about how we should keep politics out of games, and then rage about DEI or Sweet Baby Inc. or pronouns or whatever, and honestly, I don't care. Gaming has become very diverse over the last 8 years or so, and diversity is not only a good thing, but also has proven to be very successful. Games like Apex Legends, DBD, Overwatch, and more, including multiple different characters with different ethnicities, gender identities, sexualities, races, and more, and only positive can be gained from doing so. The more we show people how diverse the world truly is, the more we can work to dismantle bigotry as we begin to teach people through exposure that white straight males are not the default. You may think representation doesn't matter because chances are you already have representation, but for others, seeing ourselves in video games and the other media we enjoy is new and fresh experiences for us, and to not only see that representation, but seeing done well is also amazing. Deadlock has a multitude of diverse characters, all done very well, except Yamato, I mean Jesus fucking Christ, but they are fixing her soon. I've also heard from many indigenous people that Grey Talon needs an update as gray hair doesn't typically exist inside of the indigenous genes, and also the common misconception that Grey Talon is an old woman is also felt by many indigenous people. I am not indigenous, so I cannot confirm the second part, but I'm going to take their word for it. The one I want to talk about, however, is Pocket. Pocket is a non-binary person. More than that, Pocket is a mask-presenting non-binary person. If you paid any attention to my pronouns at the beginning of this video, then you will know that I am also a mask-presenting non-binary person, and I rarely see us represented in media at all. Many games, as of late, have opted to introduce non-binary people, Bloodhound in Apex, Venture in Overwatch, Clove in Valorant, and more. And unfortunately, femme-presenting non-binary seems to be the norm. This comes from a social viewing of non-binary as basically being diet woman. You'll find many times when women-only spaces are made, they'll say, women and non-binary, but if you show up looking like me, they will turn you away. Many femme-presenting non-binary people also voice frequent frustrations with being represented this way. Non-binary people do not owe you androgyny, and the view that all non-binary people are just women in disguise is insulting. While I love characters like Clove and Venture who are femme-presenting non-binary, it's nice to finally have a non-binary character who's mask presenting, with a masculine voice I can relate to. I mean, Pocket has a head full of hair and amazing dress sense, and I've been bald for 13 years with basic t-shirts as my wardrobe, but still, we can't have it all. It's nice to have someone like me inside the game, and I absolutely adore it from inside out, and I can't wait to see what Valve brings to the table in the future. I know this is probably the result of the game being in its play alpha test state, but I've never seen a dev team so on the ball as this one. Patches happen frequently, but more than that, the devs have transparency and are open to changes for the betterment of the game. During a massive recent patch, the devs made 2 changes people didn't particularly like. They fucked with the UI of camps on the minimap, and they restricted the party to queue to not allow 5 stacks. Within the day of the community asking them to revert these changes, they did, which is the fastest I've ever seen a dev team do such a thing. This is a dev team that truly seems to care about community feedback, and with all the careful decisions they have made from the gameplay loop to the presentation, the representation, and more, I look forward to a world where the devs continue to put this kind of care into player retention and appreciation. Even things like supporting official tournaments in the Discord and putting a watch tab directly into the game client so people can easily access the community as a whole is something you don't see anywhere else. Personally, I love the developers of this game already, and I just got here. I'm hoping that this trend continues, and I'm not disappointed in few years. I saved this chapter for last as I wanted to make sure I got every positive out of the way first. While I have minor gripes here and there, the game is near flawless in almost every way and is making its way to that flawless mark. However, it suffers from one major downside, and it's a downside all PvP games suffer from, and that's its fucking player base. Now, I'm not prepared to call Deadlock's community the most toxic. That belongs to Dead by Daylight. However, that has not stopped absolute fucking cretins from invading what would otherwise be a relatively fun space. From being called racial slurs and being told to off myself because I killed someone, to having people outright throw hissy fits in team chat because we happen to be losing in the alpha version of a game. Thankfully, it's not every match this happens. Realistically, in an average of a 4 to 5 hour session, I'll run into this maybe once or twice, but really, I want to take this section to directly address these people. Why do you take this so seriously? There is nothing on the line for you here. Nothing about the outcome of this game matters. There's no rank, no progress, no rewards, no nothing. Even if you might be a content creator, which with that attitude I doubt you're a successful one, why do you feel the need to be this way? I asked one person this question after he got done flaming our team while he had the least amount of souls and the most amount of deaths, of course, why he felt the need to flame people in the alpha version of a game. After a lot of sidestepping the question by comparing it to sports for some reason, where bad sportsmanship can lead to professional players getting banned, he proceeded to then say, and I quote, "Because when I'm losing because others are playing bad, it makes my life miserable." And I just want to say that I wish I had so little problems in my life that losing in the alpha version of a video game made my life miserable. Can you imagine how much this guy has going for him? Alternatively, maybe gaming is his only outlet in his life, but in that case, why play games where you have to rely on other people for your fun? Gaming as an outlet and escape is amazing, and there are tons of games that give you the movement shooter wahey that aren't PvP focused. The truth is though, even in a world where we weren't in an alpha game and we were in a $10 million tourney with your grandmother's open heart surgery on the line, flaming your team for playing poorly has never done anything to help the team actually win. No one hears XXX Reaper's Big Fat Balls 69 XXX say, "Wow, you're f***ing terrible, uninstall," and then immediately locked in and brought it back. No, all it really does is create anger in not only the person you flame, but everyone else, as they either turn to the person being flamed, leading to more stress and throwing, or they turn on you, leading to a larger argument and the team mentality tanks, leading to a guaranteed loss. When people are underperforming, they typically know it. They can see the same scoreboard you can, and they understand they need to play better. They don't need you screaming in their ear about it, and it helps no one. I was going to say maybe it'll make you feel better, but no, it probably doesn't. You just get more mad because for some reason you are letting the performance of others affect your mood. At the end of the day, it's just a game, and it isn't that serious. At the end of the day, Deadlock is the type of game I love to play, and of every PvP game I've ever played, it might be my favorite overall. There's so much depth and complexity within its carefully crafted world that leaves me feeling satisfied at the end. Wins feel earned and losses feel like lessons. On the rare occasions my team does get steamrolled, I'm able to brush it off much quicker than other games. Maybe there will come a day where my opinion changes and I grow to hate the game, but if that day comes, it won't be for a very long time. Thank you, Valve. Thank you for creating a game that satisfies me in every aspect a game can, from the gameplay to the presentation to the representation and more. I love Deadlock, and I look forward to watching this game grow into one of the biggest titles in gaming history. And watch every AAA company with no originality try and copy it for the next 5 years as well. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about Deadlock down in the comments section down below. And as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. You want to find out how to become a channel member and get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Need more Kaiser in your life? Well, I've got you covered. Check out my second channel, The Kaiser Extras, where I upload full gameplays, stream compilations, me reacting to your Dead by Daylight clips, and more. We also upload a daily short with all the greatest clips from stream. We'll see you over there. Link is in the description.